Hey everybody, welcome to my latest video in my Failing Towards Success series. Today I'm going to be talking to you about distractions and how they can kill your creativity. I should play a video game. And I'm going to be sharing with you the process of inking a piece that I did for Inktober. I hope you enjoy it, and I will check in with you guys next time. Thank you for joining me again today, everybody. I'm excited to share with you this illustration process of inking a piece for Inktober, which I took part in again this year. I spent the month working on pieces dedicated to the character that I've created named Possum Awesome, and I am now pushing that forward in story format through National Novel Writing Month, which is November. And a little more on that will come down the road. Anyways, today I wanted to talk about distractions. So prior to starting the month of October this year, probably a few weeks before October started, I personally made a choice to stop playing Overwatch. I actually sold the game. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, Overwatch is a first-person shooter that is team-based, and it has competitive modes, and it's very much like a sport. And I was trying to improve at it and spending a lot of time thinking about it and watching all kinds of videos and listening to podcasts and just dedicating a lot of energy to trying to improve at this game. Now you're probably asking yourself, why is a 40-year-old guy spending time investing in a game like that? Well, I'm a 40-year-old guy, but I'm also a gamer at heart and have for many years played video games. I'm also a competitive person and have not been able to play competitive sports for a long time. And this game kind of scratched my itch for something competitive. So all of those things combined sort of provided sort of a perfect storm for me to get very involved in this game and to think a lot about it. Now, what I discovered in getting rid of the game is that it was stifling my ability to pursue things that I have been saying I want to pursue, and to produce things on a level that I want to produce and a volume that I want to produce. So that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today, is sort of identifying when a distraction is becoming something that's killing your creativity, and it's gone beyond being something that's a good distraction or a fun endeavor that you take part in every once in a while that enriches your life. So I kind of formulated a few tips just from my own experience around that. I also have a little analogy about life and distractions in real life. So it was a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, I actually drove off the highway at highway speeds. Thank God I didn't crash into anybody else. I didn't roll a vehicle or anything, but I hit an approach, where a farmer's field has an approach going into the field. I kind of went off the highway, and my front right tire, passenger side tire, hit the approach, popped me up in the air, and I kind of landed gracefully going down the ditch. I went into the ditch and then into the farmer's field. And there was no fence there was no tree line, there was no equipment or anything that I ran into, and I just luckily drove 200 feet into this farmer's field, quite gently actually. But the reason I drove off the road is because I was trying to adjust my phone's cord. So my phone was sitting and it was plugged in. And I always have a smoothie in the morning when I'm driving, so I was driving that day. I had dropped the kids off already at school, thankfully. They weren't with me, and I was driving along, and I wanted to put my cup in the forward cup holder. It was stuck in the back cup holder, so I reached down to put my cup in the forward cup holder, and in doing so, I just started to veer off the road to the right, and I went off the road that fast. I always have said to myself, I'll never be the person who gets in a collision because of distracted driving. Well, I wasn't texting or anything. I was just moving the phone cord, but it was related to the phone. But it's just a fraction of a second and I was in the ditch. So that was terrifying. A couple seconds earlier, I probably would have hit the approach. A couple seconds later, I don't know, right? It just can happen so quick. So anyways, distractions are a very destructive thing. Be very careful, people. Anybody who texts while they drive, don't do it. I know it's a difficult habit to quit, but just try not to be distracted while you're driving, please. So that sort of a little analogy, kind of was part of my thinking with this whole subject too, that so quickly we can get into a distraction, but it can create a situation that affects us in the long term. For example, my neck, I had got whiplash when I had that collision or drove off the road. And every now and then I get these kinks in my neck where my muscles spasm up and everything like that. I've kind of historically had a bad neck, but I believe that it's definitely been exacerbated by that, what happened in that moment and that day. Also insurance costs. So like over the past number of years since that collision, we've paid a little more for insurance than we normally would have, because I had to go through insurance to get my vehicle fixed. It was all damaged on the undercarriage from hitting the approach. So, distractions really affect us in the big picture, and they can be a destructive force in our creativity. How do you know if it's killing your creativity is the question. So I kind of think these are some sort of tips, I guess, that hopefully maybe they will help you. I know they helped me. So the first thing I thought is, like, when I decided to quit playing that game, I honestly took stock of my time. I kind of took a week and I wrote down sort of how much time I was investing in something. It helped that the game sort of shows you how many hours you've played in a season, for example, which is like now I think it's a 2-month period. I'm not sure how they're running it now, but and it was a lot of hours. And I just was like, that is a lot of time that is pulling away from everything, right? So it's not just my creativity, but it might be pulling away from time with family. It might be pulling away from rest. It might be pulling away from just thinking or working out or exercising or doing something more beneficial. And in pulling away from those things, those other things that are still important are piled up on top of that time, right? So if I'm taking away from the time that I have to be able to do stuff, I'm putting myself in a position where stress is compounded and time becomes less available. And as we all know, time is so hard to come by. And in the community, the culture that we live in, we're just rush, go, go, go. We're overtasked and we're overclocked all the time. So if we're smart and we sort of eliminate some of these non-essential distractions, it can help us. So the other question you need to ask yourself to identify if maybe there's a distraction that you need to get rid of is, are you feeling tired all the time? Maybe you've got too much on your plate. Are you feeling overwhelmed? If you are, you need to sort of sit down and look at, write out your weekly endeavors, take stock of what you're doing in a week, and then pick and choose the things that are really important, and maybe some of the things that are good things, quote unquote, they're not bad, but maybe they're good things, but maybe you don't need them. Maybe they're just excessive stuff. And maybe those things could be put off or reduced in the time or just eliminated completely. The other thing to think about is, are you thinking about this distraction all the time? Is it getting in the way of creative thinking when you're not doing it? So I was probably playing, I would bet 6, maybe 7 hours a week I was playing that game. But the time when I wasn't playing it, I was investing thought into it. So I was listening to podcasts, I was watching, YouTube videos on strategy and things like that, and just investing a lot of time thinking about the game. Now, that's fine. Like if I was a single, 20-something guy and I had lots of time, I have more freedom in my time to do that. Now, I don't know if that necessarily would be a good thing. I spent a lot of time doing that as a young man, playing games. And I think as I'm aging and I reflect on things, if I had invested half of the amount of time that I played video games, so if it took all of my time of playing video games over the years and took half of it and invested that time into my craft, I'd be further ahead than I am now. And maybe my career would be better off. Maybe my family would be better off. Maybe I'd be more content with where I am as a creator. So anyhow, think about how much time you're investing into it beyond just doing it. Look at your life and how much of your thought energy is going into it. Another thing is to give yourself a reward for working hard. So, if you work really hard and you've been away from the thing, it's okay. Like, I could have kept the game and tried to like pigeonhole my time. So I could say, I'm going to keep the game. I'm just not going to play it until I finish ABC. Then I get like half an hour. Or maybe you get time with friends, or maybe you reward yourself with a movie night. So if you give yourself rewards for working hard, it's just sort of flipping the thing on its head. Instead of spending your time just in the things that you want to do as like hobbies, make those things something that you get as a reward for working hard in the things that you want to grow in or that you need to grow in. The other question is, when was the last time creatively that you felt like you were in the flow? So I don't know if anybody's familiar with the idea of flow or if you've ever experienced it, but it's when you feel like your things are just coming and flowing, and that you're making real, true progress in your craft or in your creativity. It's when you sit down and you work on something, and 3 hours later you just feel like you've been sitting there for 10 minutes and you've got this great progress on a piece. So if you sit down and you think about, like, when was the last time I felt like I was in that flow, and if it's been a long time, you might be suffering from distractions. Distractions might be part of the reason why you're not getting there. Creativity takes time, it takes dedicated time, and whittling away the things that are unnecessary helps us find that time to be able to get in the flow. So I would challenge you that it's possible that your ability to grow or produce at the pace that you want to is stifled by distractions. A challenge can be a good thing. If you didn't take part in Inktober, I would challenge you to set for yourself, even if it's a week or 2 weeks, I would challenge you to set a time frame for yourself where you will spend X amount of time. So whatever time you would spend in sort of we'll call it a frivolous or an aimless distraction, I challenge you to take that time away from the distraction and put it into creating. And do that for, a week or 2 weeks or whatever time you want to set for yourself, but I would challenge you to do that. Also, if you don't know anything about NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, just do a Google search for National Novel Writing Month and you'll get some information about that. I don't know if you're a writer or a creator or whatever, it doesn't really matter. That's a really good endeavor to undertake as well if you want to tell stories. So anyways, that's my sort of soapbox on distractions. And I hope it's given you some food for thought. I know for me, I don't think that I would be at the place that I am right now after this October and coming into National Novel Writing Month. I'm working on focusing on something for that. I don't think I would have gotten to this place of focus had I not removed the distraction of that game a few weeks prior to the start of October. So challenge yourself, think about what's distracting you, think about what's holding you back, and move forward with focus. And I think you'll be surprised at how much you can grow and how happy you'll be that you've done it. So there you go, that's my challenge for today. I will be posting some more content in the next month. I've got a couple things in the works, and I look forward to touching base again. Until next time, be good to each other. So I'm going to be trying to make my YouTube channel a little bit more accessible. I'm going to be asking you, if you'd like, you can click one of the links on screen to watch a video that you haven't seen. If you'd like to subscribe, please click the subscribe button. And if you would like to leave a comment, I would appreciate it. I will check in with you guys next time. All right, take care.